Your introduction to Special Forces. U.S. Army Special Forces soldiers conduct offensive raids, demolitions, intelligence, search and rescue, and other missions from air, land, or sea. Special Forces teams are amongst the most specialized combat forces in the Army. They experience rigorous mental and physical training in order to carry out their missions in a quick and extremely effective manner, and must be ready to perform a variety of tasks anywhere in the world on a moment's notice. These teams are organized into operational detachments Alpha. ODAs are also known as A-teams. The men before you comprise such an A-team, and they will describe to you their duties and responsibilities. I am the 18 Alpha, the team leader, responsible for what my team does or fails to do. I provide leadership and guidance to my detachment, supervising all aspects of mission planning and execution. Like every Special Forces soldier, I have been cross-trained in the operational specialties of the team: communications, engineering, medicine, and weapons. All of us are proficient in several foreign languages. I speak Farsi and a little bit of Japanese.
Моя специальность 18 Zulu, сержант по военным действиям. I am the 18 Zulu, Operations Sergeant. I am the senior non-commissioned officer of the team responsible for the overall organization, functionality, and training of the ODA. I take the detachment commander's guidance and create a detailed plan in order to make his vision a reality as we execute highly dangerous, politically delicate operations all over the world. I personally mentor and professionally develop the non-commissioned officers of the detachment. I speak Russian and Spanish.
안녕하세요. 18델트로서 저는 특수부대의 의료 담당 병장입니다. 문대 동료들의 생명은 나의 책임입니다. 근데 너희들은 이딴 재미도 없는 게임을 하는 것보다 더 할만한 일이 없냐? As the 18 Delta Special Forces Medical Sergeant, the lives of my comrades are my responsibility. I have undergone extensive training that makes me the finest first response trauma medical technician in the world. I also have knowledge of dentistry, veterinary care, public sanitation, water quality, and optometry. Specifically, I maintain the health of my team and indigenous soldiers so they do not become incapacitated by either combat or non-combat related injuries. Maintain medical equipment and supplies. Provide examination and care to detachment members. Provide initial medical screening and evaluation of allied and indigenous personnel. Instruct and perform land and water navigation duties. Order, store, catalog, and also safeguard medical supplies. Supervise medical care and treatment during missions. Operate a combat laboratory and treat emergency and trauma patients. Develop and provide medical intelligence as required. I speak Korean and Japanese.
Daraje dare aslahaye niruhaye vijayam. I am the Special Forces Weapons Sergeant, or 18 Bravo, a weapons specialist. I am capable of operating and maintaining a wide variety of U.S., Allied, and other foreign weaponry. Some of my duties and responsibilities include going behind enemy lines to recruit, train, and equip guerrilla forces, clearing minefields both underwater and on land, carrying out demolition raids against enemy military targets, employing warfare tactics and techniques in infantry operations, conducting offensive raids or invasions of enemy territories, maintaining proficiency with all foreign high-density light and heavy weapons, selecting weapons placements and sites, assigning targets and areas of fire, reading, interpreting, and preparing combat orders. I speak Persian Farsi.
Ma Farmanda Doste Moalwan Astam. I am the Assistant Detachment Commander, or 180 Warrant Officer. I assist the 18 Alpha in leading the team. All Special Forces warrant officers rise through the ranks first as Special Forces non-commissioned officers. With my years of experience, I helped the captain develop a long-term vision for the training and development of our detachment. I take charge of the team in the absence of the captain. If a mission calls for the ODA to be split into 2 teams, I will lead one of the split elements. I speak Dari.
Moavin Daraje Adar Telaat Va Emiliat Hastam. As the 18 Fox, I am the Assistant Operations and Intelligence NCO. Since many Special Forces missions required being behind the lines in hostile areas, it is my job to collect and evaluate information for transmission and supply vital data about the enemy. I speak Persian Farsi.
我是特种作战通讯士官. I am the 18 Echo Special Forces Communications Sergeant. I have been trained to operate and maintain every kind of communications gear from encrypted satellite communication systems to old-style high-frequency Morse code systems. I also have extensive computer networking skills and know several computer languages. Specifically, I organize, train, advise, and supervise soldiers in the installation, utilization, and operation of communications equipment. I speak Mandarin Chinese.
اختصاصم مهندس نیروهای ویژه است. My specialty is Special Forces Engineer, the 18 Charlie. I have a wide range of disciplines such as demolitions, explosives, land and water navigation, field fortifications, bridging, rigging, reconnaissance, sabotage operations, and topographic survey. Specific duties are not limited to instructing and performing land and water navigation duties, interpreting maps, overlays, photos, and charts, planning, teaching, and performing sabotage operations, carrying out demolition raids against enemy military targets such as bridges, railroads, and fuel depots, employing warfare tactics and techniques in infantry operations, conducting offensive raids or invasions against enemy territories, evaluating terrain, reading, interpreting, and preparing combat orders. I speak Farsi.
Welcome to class, soldier. Let's get started. In Special Forces, you will be called upon to conduct strategic reconnaissance and provide accurate information. Your ability to correctly identify vehicles and aircraft, both friendly and enemy, will assist the Army in making correct and timely decisions. The basic task of seeing the enemy on the battlefield is an associated problem of identifying the equipment in use. This problem is compounded by the existence of a mixture of equipment in the armies of many allied and non-allied nations. It is your duty to effectively engage targets and make reports to higher headquarters in an accurate and timely manner. Soldiers must be able to distinguish friend from foe. We will begin with armored vehicle recognition. Before we begin discussing specific vehicles, we need to have an understanding of the features to look for when determining the identification of an armored fighting vehicle, or AFV. The following slides are examples of chassis, turrets, and main armaments that we will use to gain the necessary understanding of these identification features. The vehicle's hull is one of the most straightforward means of identifying an AFV. The shape of the vehicle's hull can be very distinctive. Additionally, the hull may have other identifying features like the location of hatches or the design of side skirts. External features like stowage boxes and fuel tanks may also help in recognizing the vehicle in the field. The vehicle's wheel system is also very useful in identification. You will want to pay close attention to whether or not the vehicle is tracked, whether the track is supported or non-supported, and the number and design of road wheels and support rollers. Another prominent feature on an AFV is the turret. There are a number of features on the turret which can be useful for identification purposes. The turret's shape and overhang are a quick visual cue. Other features that might be harder to pick out are the presence of infantry rails, location of sights, presence of stowage boxes and racks, size and shape of the gun mantle, location and design of hatches, cupolas, and searchlights. The AFV's armament is another important feature to look at when identifying vehicles. The kind of armament an AFV carries can be crucial when in the field. You'll want to look at the length, size, and number of guns and weapons, and the presence and position of bore evacuators and muzzle brakes. For our first in-depth examination of an AFV, I'll point out the relevant features of the M1A1 Abrams tank. If you look at the hull, you'll notice the hull features side skirts, a driver hatch on the front center, and a track suspension with 7 road wheels. The turret is needle-nosed with flat angular sides centered on the chassis, with stowage boxes on the left and right, and a bustle rack on the rear. The tank's main gun features a bore evacuator 2/3 from the muzzle end and a muzzle reference sensor on the muzzle end. Additionally, there are 2 machine guns mounted on the top of the tank. Now for comparison purposes, we'll look at a T-72 tank. Notice that the T-72 hull has a low silhouette, 6 road wheels evenly spaced, and 3 support rollers. On the rear of the vehicle is a reserve fuel tank, while the front has a V-shaped splash guard. The T-72 is armed with a 125mm main gun with a range of 2,000 meters. It has a bore evacuator halfway down from the end of the gun tube. Its secondary armament is a 12.7mm machine gun, which is travel locked to the rear of the tank. Aircraft are as much a part of the battlefield as tanks and artillery. These aircraft add a vertical dimension, and their presence must be accepted and dealt with by every soldier in the field. On today's battlefield, a soldier must recognize and identify both enemy and friendly aircraft. Since there may be many of each type, aircraft recognition training is necessary for every soldier in the combat force. Visual recognition and identification of specific aircraft types and timely reporting provide early warning, threat air capability, or information on a possible new tactical situation such as supply drops, defoliation, or photographic reconnaissance. In the United States military, The WEFT theory is the teaching method used to achieve an acceptable level of performance in visual aircraft recognition skills. All aircraft are built with the same basic elements: wings to provide lift, engines to provide motive power, a fuselage to carry the payload and controls, and a tail assembly which usually controls the direction of flight. There are many variations in wing configurations. The three basic wing types are fixed, variable geometry, and rotary. For the purposes of this class, we will focus on rotary wing aircraft. The main rotors of helicopters are airfoils and are classified as wings. Helicopters may have from 2 to 8 main rotor blades. The rotors on a helicopter can be configured in several ways. The most common configuration is the combination of one main rotor and one tail rotor. The tail rotor compensates for the torque that is produced by the main rotor. The tail rotor also controls the helicopter along the vertical axis during hover flight. The tandem rotor or dual rotor configuration is used mainly with large helicopters. Because of the opposite rotation of the rotors, the torque of each single rotor is neutralized. The last configuration is the coaxial rotor. One rotor is located on top of the other. The two rotors turn in opposite directions. Depending on which rotor produces more lift, the helicopter will turn to the left or right because of the torque. Another feature to take note of when identifying helicopters is their engines. The main points to look for are the number and location of air intakes, the number and location of exhaust ports, and the engine location. The fuselage of the helicopter is probably the most easily recognizable feature. It is important to take note of the shape of the nose section, midsection, rear section, the canopy, and the dorsal spine. The tail and tail rotor are another identifying characteristic of helicopters. The key things to take note of are the location of tail flats or fins and the type of rear rotor mounting. You'll notice examples of a side-mounted rotor and an enclosed rotor. Let's take a look at the UH-60 Blackhawk. You'll notice immediately that both the main rotor and the tail rotor are four-bladed. The fuselage is rectangular with a rounded nose. The aircraft features a tapered, prominent horizontal stabilizer, a swept-back vertical stabilizer, three-wheeled landing gear, and rearward opening troop doors on the sides. The Blackhawk may be fitted with wing-mounted rockets or external fuel tanks. Now let's look at the Mi-24 Hind. Right away you'll notice that this aircraft has a 5-bladed main rotor and a 3-bladed tail rotor. Mounted at mid-fuselage are two stubby weapons-carrying wings which can carry machine guns or rockets. There are tandem bubble canopies at the front of the fuselage, and the fuselage tapers at the tail boom. Just above the cockpit are two round engine air intakes. The exhaust ports are on the sides of the engine. The Hind also has a nose mounting for a gun turret or twin-barreled gun. As a Special Forces soldier, your duties will include interaction with indigenous forces. These forces will likely be armed with a variety of weapons in differing states of readiness. It is very important that you be able to recognize what weapons both indigenous forces and enemies are using so that appropriate tactics can be employed. The M4A1 is a shortened variant of the M16A2 rifle, yet it packs the same firepower. Ideal for close quarters combat, the M4A1 is the perfect combination of firepower and compactness. The M4A1 functions almost exactly like the M16A2. The Picatinny rail system allows the soldier to outfit their M4A1 with the right modifications for any mission. There are 5 rails on the top, front, right, left, and bottom of the carbine where modifications may be attached. The M4A1 isn't the only weapon that can be modified. You are likely to run across the AK-74 in the field, and it is likely to have modifications of some kind. While the mounting system may be less complex, and may just be a matter of using some duct tape, enemies equipped in such a fashion should not be underestimated. Knowing which modifications an enemy has may give you some advantage. The M136 AT-4 is the Army's primary light anti-tank weapon. The AT-4 is a recoilless rifle used primarily by infantry forces for engagement and defeat of light armor. The recoilless rifle design permits accurate delivery of an 84mm high-explosive anti-armor warhead with negligible recoil. The M136 AT-4 is man-portable and is fired from the right shoulder only. The RPG-7 is a recoilless, shoulder-fired, muzzle-loaded, reloadable anti-tank grenade launcher. It fires a variety of 85mm rocket-assisted grenades from a 40mm smooth-bore launcher tube. The launcher has 2 hand grips, a large optical sight, a thick wooden heat guard around the middle, and a large flared blast shield at the rear of the tube. The RPG-7 is light enough to be carried and fired by one person. However, an assistant grenadier normally deploys to the left of the gunner to protect him from small arms fire. Be advised that it is not uncommon for rockets to deviate from their intended flight path. The M9 is a lightweight semi-automatic pistol and designed to replace the M1911A1 45 caliber pistol. The M9 has redundant automatic safety features to help prevent unintentional discharges. It can be fired in either double or single action mode and can be unloaded without activating the trigger while the safety is in the on position. The M9 pistol has a 15-round magazine and may be fired without a magazine inserted. The Russian-made Makarov PM is still found throughout the former Soviet Union and the former Warsaw Pact nations. A double-action handgun, it owes much of its heritage to the Walther PPK. The Makarov uses an 8-shot magazine. The Special Purpose Rifle, or SPR, is the Army's new sniper support weapon built off of an M16 receiver. The SPR fires 5.56 rounds and functions similarly to an M16, but is a bit more heavy. This extra weight comes from a heavier barrel, which increases the weapon's accuracy. The SPR comes with a 10x scope, a 20-round magazine, and can be fired in semi-auto mode. The VSS Ventores was designed for special operations. Adopted by Russian military and special law enforcement units in 1987, this rifle has an integrated silencer and uses special subsonic ammo. The Ventores was used in all local conflicts that the Russian Army was involved in during the last decade. The AN M14 TH3 incendiary hand grenade is used to destroy equipment. It can damage, immobilize, or destroy vehicles, weapon systems, shelters, or munitions. The grenade may also be used to start fires in areas containing flammable materials. This concludes the lecture portion of this class. If you look at the posters on the walls, you will see that each poster profiles a different AFV or aircraft. Take a few moments to look them over before your test. Now I'll take a moment to explain the testing process. The test consists of 5 slides representing field reconnaissance photos. Each slide has a corresponding test page with 3 questions. You will view each slide for 15 seconds, then have 15 seconds to answer the related questions. When you finish the last slide, hand in your test to me. Let's begin. Outstanding work!
Care to explain why you're here again, Wilkins?
I took the high ground, and the enemy spotted my silhouette, sir.
Remember that the harder trail is the better trail. Stay low and slow to get a go. And you, Thompson? How did they spot you last time?
I was tired and hungry, so I tried to sneak through the enemy camp.
You have to learn to take things slow out there. Being in a hurry will make it easy for the enemy to hear or see you. Now gear up, soldiers.